Lemons, you have an onion, he has an onion. You have to use separate ingredients.
You know how dishes that look like crap usually taste like it too? Well, the key word here is usually. Occasionally, something that looks awful tastes great, and some real artistic beauties end up tasting like cardboard. And some, well, they were an absolute mess on both fronts.
Sauce, absolutely disgusting. The dish is clumsy.
I want you to be the judge here. Keep an eye on all these dishes and let me know how you think they're gonna taste. Simple, right? Well, with that being said, let's start from the start. Season 1.
Now. Right now.
So, it was the leftovers challenge. According to Chef Ramsay, the mark of a successful chef is
utilizing leftovers from the previous night's dinner service.
So, Jessica decided to take inspiration from her mom's cooking.
I did a beef stew and berries and cream dessert, chef.
She kicked things off by presenting her beef stew as the main course and a strawberry raspberry cake for dessert, landing her as the first contestant in front of Chef Ramsay. While Chef Ramsay dug the flavors of both dishes, he couldn't ignore one tiny little thing.
It actually looks a mess.
And the dessert was no different.
The presentation zero, but flavor. Good flavor. Not bad.
Ultimately, Jessica lost out to Elsie's simple chicken soup in that round.
Congratulations. I'd pay for that dish.
She was so envious that even she wanted a taste, just so she could figure out if Chef Ramsay got it right this time.
Keep your soup. I want to try it. I also had dessert on my dish.
Alright, moving on to season 2.
It looks so much easier when they cut the top of the bottle of wine off.
Now, in the signature dish challenge, Keith led the pack as the first to face Chef Ramsay's verdict. He served up a sesame-crusted tuna dish, giving it a catchy name too.
With the Leaning Tower of Pisa. That's mine, chef.
Yeah, quite the description, right?
It's cha-ching sesame crusted tuna. Sorry, say that again. Cha-ching sesame crusted.
When Chef Ramsay asked about the cha-ching thing, Keith explained it was his way of saying it was awesome and top-notch. Well, we'll see about that.
Cha-ching is like, it's my slang, just means it's slamming, it's money.
Lamb and his money.
Slamming?
Oh, slamming.
Yeah.
Chef Ramsay wasn't buying it, especially when Keith claimed the dish was light despite its hefty size. He even wanted him to remove his hat for a certain special reason.
Give me your hat.
What?
Hat. There you go. Hold it there.
After a taste, Chef Ramsay thought the sauce was too spicy.
That sauce is piping hot.
But Keith defended it, saying it was meant to be savored carefully.
Should dip it with care.
I'm gonna stop eating with care.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe you're the one who's got to be careful here, Keith. I mean, Chef Ramsay's response was just as sarcastic as Keith's dish was spicy. Still though, despite some messy cheese mishaps, Keith has always had a positive spin to it.
Kinda soiled the inside, but still wearable.
Man, I really miss this guy. Rest in peace, brother. Well, on a lighter note, let's check out the 20 ingredients challenge, where Jen was already rubbing her new teammates the wrong way by taking charge and choosing ingredients without consulting anyone first.
You grabbed his pancetta off the tray. Are you telling him or asking him?
I'll take this, I'm taking that, I take this.
And the next thing you know, she even suggested a dish idea to Laros when Bobby's veal wasn't working out.
The best thing to do with that veal is a surf and turf with a fish. Yeah, I will go with that.
The more time ticked away, the more tensions rose, especially when Jen got peeved at Laros for his messy plating. And when the clock ran out, Laros forgot an ingredient, prompting Jen to urge him to straight up lie and say he used 5 instead of 4.
He's like, it just doesn't look right. And I'm just like, put the fucking veal on there.
Stop, Jen! You serve what you plated.
Why didn't you just put it like right in the center of them 2 pieces of fish?
During judging, she faced off against Matt, presenting her pancetta wrapped quail dish with just 4 ingredients. Chef Ramsay liked the taste and gave her the point.
Well done, Jen.
Thank you, chef.
2-1 to the blue.
But things hit the fan soon, and you won't believe what happened.
Oyster mushroom sauce. They use the preserved lemons as to deglaze it in a way, and then from then on, just sauteed it.
So when Laros admitted to also using only 4 ingredients, it angered Jen, who wanted him to lie.
I use 4, chef.
Stupid ass.
Jen, 4 ingredients. Bobby, 6. Petrosa, 5.
Good.
When Chef Ramsay asked about the missing veal, Jen threw Laros under the bus, saying he had the idea for surf and turf, but didn't include it last minute.
A surf and turf was his idea for it. At the last minute, he didn't put it on.
And what happened as a result of this?
Blue team, we failed. Miserably. Just forgot to serve the veal.
Yeah, who honestly didn't see that coming? But wait, here's where I want you to put your thinking caps on. Do you think Jen was being strategic here, or just plain treacherous? Make sure to let me know in the comments below. Meanwhile, I'm moving on to another instance from the Signature Dish Challenge of Season 5, when Charlie's turn came calling before long. Charlie was the 8th contestant in line, and he whipped up some lamb chops, all fancy arranged in a circle with a side of mashed potatoes. However, Chef Ramsay wasn't impressed.
Looks like a Ferris wheel. That is a joke.
But, well, look how things turned out. By the way, for those who didn't know, he lost his life this year in March in a terrible motorbike accident. Rest in peace, Charlie. Yeah, that's 2 for 2 for chefs that left us way too soon. Either way though, gotta keep things moving. Let's fast forward to season 8 when a contestant presented something unconventional.
I was always the best cook in the kitchen, so I can't see why this would be any different.
So, Raj was the last guy from the blue team to face Chef Ramsay's judgment, and just like Charlie, he was 8th in line to present his dish. While Raj seemed confident about this dish, I always wonder if he should have gone with something else. Because when he brought out this seafood and veggie pancake, well, I'm sure you can already guess considering it's Raj.
A seafood and vegetable pancake.
Pancake.
Chef Ramsay was shook when oil started oozing out of it, and he couldn't hold himself back from making the most obvious comparison he could.
A pancake that pisses.
Even though the seafood inside was tasty, Chef Ramsay wasn't impressed with the sloppy presentation. So Raj lost to Sabrina in that round, who had both looks and taste locked down.
It's quite nice inside.
Oh, thank you.
However, it looks a mess. Presentation's shocking.
You know, it's funny how Raj's dish often ends up on those top 5 worst signature dishes lists just because it's Raj, but truth be told, it's really not the worst out there. Chef Ramsay actually gave credit where it's due and complimented the seafood, saying it tasted nice in the grand scheme of things. Sure, the presentation was absurd as hell. I mean, if you call it a pancake, it should at least look like one. Hell, even looking like traditional okonomiyaki, if I even pronounced it right, would have had things ending up in Raj's favor a little more easily. Yeah, Raj didn't come up with the concept of a seafood pancake. Japan had him beat by like 500 years. What's more, after Raj dropped this weird pancake on Hell's Kitchen, many fans attempted to recreate the dish. Right from the flavors to the overall presentation of the dish, fans were quite impressed with Raj's skills. Well, at least he introduced this unique dish to the rest of the Western world. Or at least as many people have watched this episode and were in the dark like I was. So let's give him some credit for that, shall we? And let's give him credit for his flavors. Like I said, getting a quite nice from Gordon Ramsay is no small feat. Anyway, some of the pancakes that dropped on Reddit were way weirder than Raj's. I mean, just look at this one right here. Well, now, I know for sure that Raj had at least some sort of skill. But don't you think the world should just call the dish what it is instead of giving it misleading monikers? If Raj had introduced the dish and kept its original name, who knows? Maybe Chef Ramsay might have appreciated it better. Well, aside from the grease dripping out of it and off the side of the plate, of course, but at least Chef Ramsay wouldn't have compared it to the pancake we are familiar with. Either way, it was Raj's day to shine and the dude wouldn't let anything dampen his spirits. But now, with that massive rant out of the way, let's head over to Season 9, where the American Classics Challenge turned into chaos. So what happened is, Wolfgang Puck only gave a thumbs up to 3 out of the 10 dishes, and even for those, he wasn't exactly throwing around compliments left and right. The one exception was Natalie's salmon salad. But there were 2 chefs who stood out from the rest, and not for the good reasons. First up was Tommy. So Tommy presented a Japanese soy caramel burger, and right from the first glance, it left a lot to be desired. The visual appeal was utterly lacking, and his burger looked like lifeless wasteland on the plate.
Look how colorful that looks. That's how I like my burgers to look too.
Damn, that does look ugly, doesn't it? And don't even get me started on the taste. It was anything but palatable. Instead of delivering that wow factor as the challenge demanded, Tommy's burger fell flat. Now the next contestant to present their dish was Jonathan, and this dude was sure that his creation wouldn't meet any glowing remarks. I mean, he was really hesitant to even bring it up.
Come on, guys. I'm not taking it up. For God's sake, come on.
And yup, he was right about his dish. Disclaimer, no Italians were harmed during the making of Jonathan's flatbread pizza. At least that's what he thought he was.
Well, where did you see a pizza like that?
Nowhere, not even my dog would have it. I mean, maybe try sticking with the classics, man. But here's where it gets even more absurd. When Jonathan tried to defend his creation, he argued that he had zero say in the creative process. But Tommy wasn't having any of it and believed that it could have been properly cooked.
I'm standing here looking like an ass because I had no say-so in the pizza.
Since there was no redemption in sight, Chef Ramsay sent it back, refusing to let Wolfgang Puck even taste it. But, well, who knows, maybe, just maybe Wolfgang might have liked it had Chef Ramsay not come in the way, or maybe not. However, you have to see what went down in the next episode right here. Turns out, most ugly dishes are indeed as horrendous as they look.
JP.
That would be JP's. So, in the Signature Dish Challenge, he was quick off the mark and finished cooking a whole 20 minutes before the clock ran out. Now, when Chef Ramsay got wind of this, he wasn't impressed. Even though JP tried to assure Chef Ramsay that he could keep the dish warm, Chef Ramsay wasn't buying it. He warned JP that by the time it was served, it would probably be overcooked. So JP reluctantly decided to start over. Anyway, he was the second contestant from the blue team to have his dish judged, facing off against Sade. But before even taking a bite, Chef Ramsay first questioned JP about whether he had indeed cooked a whole new dish after finishing the first one so early. To which, JP admitted that he had indeed started from scratch. With that revelation in mind, JP presented his creation, a Boston baked haddock with fingerling potatoes, haricot verts, and lemon beurre blanc sauce. Unfortunately, Chef Ramsay wasn't in a forgiving mood.
Potatoes are solid. That looks like something out of the 1970s.
He criticized the fish for being dry, the potatoes for being hard, and the lemon component for being something straight out of the 1970s.
Whose is this?
Buddy, sorry.
I'll just send you home.
And nope, Chef Ramsay didn't stop there. He reminded JP that he was the only chef who had to cook his dish twice, a clear mark against him. And then, Chef Ramsay dropped a bombshell, suggesting he might just send JP home on the spot. And in the end, he scored a meager 1 out of 5 for his dish. Now, this reminds me of Jennifer from season 13, who pretty much owned every challenge that got put in front of her. Remember that pan-seared Chilean sea bass she whipped up? It got major props for being the most stunning dish in the competition up to that point. And even when she wasn't feeling all that confident, she still managed to hit the bullseye most of the time. Take the Indian cuisine challenge, for instance. She totally rocked it despite any self-doubts. Which is why we were all caught a bit off guard when she presented this in the Amuse-Bouche challenge. Chef Ramsay's critique was far from glowing, emphasizing the dish's off-putting presentation and the rather eccentric idea of sucking on prawn heads. Tanya Steele was still gracious in giving her a 3, but Chef Ramsay, he couldn't stop taking digs.
2. Thank you.
Eventually, Jennifer's confidence seemed to deflate as she only managed to scrape together 5 points. Moving on, in season 10, Don served a dish that was even spicier than Chef Ramsay's temper. And given how he reacts to even slightly spicy stuff, you can imagine how pissed the guy's gonna be. During the signature dish challenge, Don was the first person from the blue team to have his Southwestern Saltimbocca judged by Chef Ramsay and went up against Robin.
He's gonna declare me the winner right then and there.
Never have I seen someone be so wrong. He was soon forced to take his words back because as soon as Chef Ramsay took a bite, it seemed like he had just tasted a mouthful of lava. He let out an involuntary cough and, without hesitation, asked Robin to taste it.
How much would you put in there?
About a half a teaspoon.
And that's not too much for you?
You might want to rethink your answer, Don. He suggested to Robin that she might want to consider spitting out her bite, and she readily agreed. Man, that was humiliating. Now, in the same season, we had a contestant who refused to let Chef Ramsay taste his signature dish.
I am, because his execution is poor.
Why? Because the chocolate miso sauce was burnt and the execution of his dish was poor. Gotta admit, at least Guy was self-aware.
It's not good. It's not for eating.
Should have listened to his warning because Chef Ramsay was absolutely dismayed.
It tastes like a fucking fish sundae.
But you have to agree. He has quite the colorful imagination because what the hell is a fish sundae? You know what? Don't tell me. I've had my fill of unappetizing shit for today just by looking at these dishes. Needless to say, he scored no points. Now, here's a look at a dish that appeared to be delicious but missed the mark by more than a mile. So, in season 10, Royce had set his sights on the luxurious lobster as the star of his dish. His masterpiece. A whole poached lobster infused with saffron and thyme. After taking a bite of his own creation, he seemed very convinced that it was freaking delicious. As the final blue team member to face the judges, Royce squared off against Christina Wilson. Little did he know, a hairy situation was about to unfold. Douglas Keane discovered this.
What was that? Hair.
A long hair lurking within the dish sent shockwaves of disgust through the room. An irritated Clemenza Caserta couldn't help but ask why anyone would dare to serve a hair-infested dish to a Michelin star chef. Yeah, pretty gross, right? Chef Ramsay, never one to mince his words, demanded an explanation from Royce.
It's bigger than Roshni.
Royce, perplexed and caught off guard, claimed innocence, insisting he had no idea how the hair found its way into his creation. But wait, there was more. Michael Kimarusti, like a culinary detective, revealed that the lobster still had its not-so-appetizing shit sack intact.
Lobster too that you should always remove. The shit sack.
Yikes, there goes my appetite for dinner. Clearly, Royce's dish fell short of expectations. He managed to score only 3 stars, leaving the team astounded. Meanwhile, Kimmy, in a moment of pure disbelief, couldn't help but ask this.
What are you thinking, dude?
Same question, Kimmy. I have the same bloody question. Continuing our love for spectacular dishes, I am sure you'll remember Moe's pasta by the eponymous Monique Booker from season 14. When Chef Ramsay inquired about her marinara sauce, Monique confidently revealed her secret.
It's just from a jar.
You know the worst part? To everybody's annoyance, she didn't even think she was wrong to use pre-made sauce. Instead, she continued giving attitude to Chef Ramsay.
You should have just told me. I would have did it. You came to the kitchen.
want.
Wow, what a joke. To nobody's surprise, she scored only 1 point, and the red team eventually lost the challenge. Speaking of pre-made food, Kevin Ridland's chicken Caesar Piadina comes to mind as well. Chef Ramsay wasn't exactly thrilled with the concept. In his eyes, a salad on top of a pizza was a culinary crime, but the worst was yet to come.
There's a reason why I don't put fresh crisp salad on a hot pizza. Honestly, it looks terrible.
That's not all. The horrors continued to persist.
So you didn't make the dough?
No.
Is it an authentic Caesar dressing?
Pre-made.
In a moment of blunt honesty, Chef Ramsay looked Kevin dead in the eye and asked if he wanted to go home.
Let me ask you something. Do you want to go home?
Oh god.
Ouch! I think he really meant it. His elimination in episode 5 is easily one of the most brutal in the show's history. What made it even more surprising was how he seemed to disappear into thin air after being pulled from mid-service. No closure, no exit speech, just poofing out. Now, let's be real here, Kevin had his fair share of struggles in the kitchen. Those scallops were his kryptonite, even after Chef Ramsay showed him how it's done. It's gotta be frustrating to see someone stumble on the basics, especially when they've been given a crash course by the big man himself. You see, quite a few folks have come up with both lousy concepts and botched executions in the signature dish challenge, but sugary mashed potatoes?
Who in their right mind would put sugar in mashed potatoes?
And that would be Carrie Keep. Carrie faced Chef Ramsay's taste test against Will. On her plate, a tempting chicken fried ribeye served with creamy mashed potatoes and a fancy white truffle cream gravy. But the twist came when she let slip that she added a little sugar in those potatoes.
Stop, say that again.
I have sugar in there. That's what my mother always did.
Chef Ramsay's expression shifted to disbelief, while Carrie remained convinced her sweet touch would win him over. With unwavering confidence, she even went as far as likening the taste experience to this.
This is like an orgasm in your mouth.
Too bad that Chef Ramsay couldn't fake it. He spat it out, labeled it repulsive, and Carrie had to bow out, ceding the round to Will. Buddy, hey. At least Carrie liked it, right? I mean, who cared about Chef Ramsay's critique? Not Carrie, of course. So, can you think of more times when chefs served food that looked hideous but turned out to be delightful? Clearly, you can see that I don't have enough to cover one full video. But hey, I'm sure you guys all know better than I do. So, why don't you go ahead and share your thoughts in the comments below? And if you thought this video made you hungry, I got another juicier one right here. So, don't forget to check it out.